clouds over feeling my soul and my mind. There's no more way to avoid.
2 of Sports Talk up next with your hosts Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and the Professor Tom Hayes. Don't leave us hanging. Join the show, 800-956-7266.
We continue on a Friday edition of Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. From the capital city, Phil Kornblut, Will Pelagic, and Brian Leonard here. Got a lot to cover in this hour. George, Brian, in just a moment. More from Clemson football. We'll hear from co-offensive coordinator Jeff Scott. The full Monty on NASCAR coming up. And, of course, we're keeping an eye on everything at the Masters and in baseball. Patrick Reed, another birdie, 10 under. As he goes to 16, the lead is now 3 over Mark Leishman. Tiger just finished up, +4, so he will make the cut and will be around for the weekend. Update from Kentucky. Kentucky's taken a 1-0 lead. Runners on the corners with 1 out. In the bottom of the second, Adam Hill's already thrown 37 pitches in an inning and a third. So he's not long for this one with that kind of pitch count.
I think that if you're Tiger right now, you have to hope that both Leishman and Reed fall off. And the real focus, I'm looking at that group at 4 under and saying that's my target for the end of the week. And if you can get maybe a 68 out of Saturday's round if they play Saturday, and then get another low score, maybe you get in that mix there. But if Reed and Leishman run away and hide from the rest of the pack, there's no hope for them.
Well, the way Reed is playing in particular right now, that might very well happen as we welcome in George Bryan with the regular edition of Birdies and Bogeys in South Carolina and also across the river in Augusta. George, I know it's not going to be a weekend stay for Wesley, but he was there. He competed for the first time, kind of got his feet wet at Augusta. What did he have to say after the round today? What did you think about how he handled things over the 2 days?
Oh, one thing about Wesley is he heals up quick, moves forward. His strength is he looks out the front window. He enjoys this game, and he's not very happy. In fact, he's in the gym right now. And he's in the physical condition of his life, looking great, hitting it longer, but shoot, man, he's fine. He's ready for next week. And having that short memory is one of the biggest keys to playing good golf. And that part of the game, Phil, he's got figured out. I wish I could do it, wish I could teach it. It's one of those things that you got to work on, but, man, he's ready to go for next week now.
Well, he'll be the man next week as the defending champion. A lot of responsibilities on his shoulders, but a round a day of 6 bogeys, no birdies. What did you see in his game today as he toured the course?
You know, while Patrick Reed, and by the way, Patrick Reed can run away and hide. He was Augusta State, got 2 national championships down here. He knows this golf course well, but he's making it look easy. In fact, it makes Wesley look really rough. But it's playing harder than it looks. You can look down the leaderboard but Wesley was really, really close, really close. He hit 3 or 4 iron shots that were really right on. Maybe got a little bit of an off kick, resulted in bogeys. He missed 3 or 4 putts. Actually, 3 or 4 little simple chips that he normally would do pretty good with, and just a little bit off, and he gets the weekend off.
Here's the thing, GB, take the dad hat off and put on the golf coach hat for me. Is there anything that he can kind of put in a bottle and take with him to the Heritage as a point of encouragement?
Oh yeah, see, one of the things that he drove his ball great, probably drove it better than he has. He drove it better than he did at Harbortown last year. His driver's really in good shape. He's hitting his ball really good. The thing that what happened is if you don't know Augusta during tournament time, and he did say, I just talked to him like a few minutes ago as he was on the way to the gym, that the greens were more firm. They can get the greens fast at tournament time. They were more firm than even in the practice rounds, and he misjudged just a little bit, and he'll know next time. But he is in great shape, but the 2 or 3 feet one way or another with an iron shot. And, you know, he's instead of 6 over today, he's definitely just he's playing the weekend, and then he missed a couple of putts that he normally wouldn't miss. Just hard lip out.
Yeah, Reed just bogeyed 16, so he drops a stroke. He's back at 9, so it's a 2-shot lead at this point. So what do you foresee for the remainder of the field for the weekend, with the weather being a bit of a question mark? You know, and you know Patrick Reed, you mentioned he's a college champion, and he's done some great things, of course. He's a top golfer on the tour, one of the top. How is he going to hold up under the pressure of the weekend moving forward? What do you expect to see movers and droppers this coming weekend?
Hey, Dustin Johnson played right in front of Wesley today, so I could watch him play, and he's making golf look really easy. And his game looks sharp to me. I wouldn't be surprised if Dustin didn't play well, based on at least what I saw today. But Patrick Reed, I've been waiting for him to get hot in a major. There is no fear in Patrick Reed. Mm-hmm. And he knows this golf course really well. So if Patrick Reed plays his game, Leishman's due he is right. Greg Leishman is better than most people have any idea. These two guys could easily run away and hide. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me. However, the weather's going to be a little different tomorrow. I've heard it's going to rain, and this is Augusta. 36 holes doesn't seem like a lot, but on the weekend here, with the nerves, you just never can tell.
Yeah, every shot you're strangling the club, I got to believe. And, you know, let's don't forget about the threesome at 4 under. McIlroy, Spieth, and Stenson very much within striking distance. And you might think, as things play out, the winner's going to come from one of those three.
Well, those Stenson and McIlroy, excuse me, I said Greg Leishman, and I whiffed on that.
That's okay.
Back to me, it's Mark, not Greg.
That's right.
He's nice. But hey, McIlroy, Wesley played a practice round with him. He is driving the golf ball better than any human I've ever seen, and I would not be at all surprised if he didn't catch fire. And then I watched Stenson a little bit. He's always so solid, tee to green. The weather coming tomorrow could play a big role. And hey, a little shout out to our 58-year-old Freddie Couples. He's got a chance to win this tournament. He's Singh at 55 has a chance. Bernard Longer at 60 has a chance. Three guys making a cut in a major championship. That might be bigger news than Patrick Reed running away right now at 9 under.
What in your mind, or what from people you've talked to, what happened to Cooch? What happened with his round today?
You know, I don't have any information on that. I hate to see this guy. I'm a little disappointed. I heard bits and pieces, but when you're walking around here at Augusta, it's not like you don't have electronic scoring.
Right.
If you're not right there watching, you got to rely on the word that travels and then the boards you can see. So I don't have any information.
You got to play that game of broken telephone there.
Hey, real quick, your thoughts on Sergio? Looks like he's going to finish last among the pros. He's at 16 over with a hole to play. From champion 1 year to dead last among the pros the next year. That's mind-boggling.
GOLF. That's the explanation. And if you hadn't tried it, you need
don't.
Very special Phil. Hey, if that ought to make us all feel a little better. Sergio wasn't playing all that bad, but that's how crazy the game can be. So golf, that's the explanation. Just golf.
Look, we thank you. I know it's a proud time in the Bryan household. The Masters is the Masters, and now you get to go down to Harbortown as the defending champion with Wesley. I know you'll be involved with everything there. Will be there covering for us, so stop by the booth and see him.
Come by the booth.
Can we mix it up a little more next week? I like a little extra golf time with you guys.
You got it. Yeah, and you know what? Everything's more relaxed next week, too. Just your report will be more relaxed. The atmosphere at Harbortown will be more relaxed.
Just come by, bring the pimento cheese, and then we'll break bread together. How about that?
Hallelujah. I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank
you, George. They have one thing you will find excellent in the press room at Harbortown is a great spread. But not pimento cheese, a bunch of other good stuff. You'll enjoy yourself.
I know some places to eat in Hilton Head, too.
Yeah.
This is the place to talk Tigers, Gamecocks, and more. Sports talk across the state on the South Carolina Radio Network.
All right, thanks again to George Bryan III for being with us here on Sports Talk, updating things from Augusta. Still 9 under for Patrick Reed as he's on 17, 2 shots clear of Mark Leishman. Sergio did finish. He got a birdie at the last. How about that? To finish at 15 under par for the tournament, and that will tie him with Marco Mira and Angel Cabrera as the high scores among the professionals.
High as in
the field.
High as in high.
High as in way, way too high. Things are not going well for USC and Adam Hill. Top of the third, Gamecocks are down 3-0.
He's getting behind in counts, high pitch counts, and once again, the timely hitting for the Gamecocks just not there. And really, you know, I feel for Mark Kingston a little bit because I'm sure he's sitting there and saying, you know, what more can go wrong with this group? And you wonder whether or not you can get some bounces going your way, as they just got one there with Riley Hogan getting a base hit through the right side to open up the top of the third. But you just need something encouraging. And they got that last week with Tennessee. But if they could beat a quality opponent, that could be that thing that maybe puts the snowball going down the hill.
Well, you look at the inning that Kentucky just scored 3, open with back-to-back walks and a sacrifice. So it's second and third with 1 out. You get a single into the hole. It's short for an RBI to make it 1-0. A single up the middle, scoring another run to make it 2-0. Then you have a double steal and a throwing error on the catcher, allowing a run to score to make it 3-0. So have an error in the inning, 2 walks, couple of hits through the infield. You're down 3-0.
Crazy.
Other baseball. And we have some finals. Presbyterian beat Asheville 12-7. Illinois beat why do I care about Illinois and Maryland? Well, I'm mistakenly thinking Maryland's still in the ACC. Let's do this one. Alabama beat Missouri. Hey, everybody, let's have some fun at Missouri's expense. Alabama wins 2-1. Wofford in the first of 2 beats Wilmington 13-1. Pittsburgh and Boston College postponed, as was Ole Miss and Mississippi State. Virginia Tech and Virginia are playing 2. They are scoreless in the second game, just underway. In the first game, Virginia was winning. I think they went on to win. Yes, Virginia won 9-0 in that one. Wofford and Wilmington are scoreless in the second inning of game 2. Florida, Tennessee postponed. Winthrop and Gardner-Webb scoreless in the first. You can see where the weather's starting to move through the southeast. LSU and A&M are scoreless at College Station in the bottom of the first. North Carolina and Miami scoreless, bottom of the first. Wake Forest leading Duke 8-0. That's 14th ranked Duke in the bottom of the fourth. Upstate and Florida, make that North Florida, scoreless in the fifth. Mercer leading Furman 2-0 in the fourth. Samford over the Citadel 4-2 in the sixth. South Alabama is blasting Coastal at 10-3. 2 top teams in the Sun Belt, Coastal 8-1, South Alabama 6-2 is 10-3 Jags in that one.
When you were at College Station for your trip down there for Carolina a couple years ago, did you go past Bluebell Park, the Texas A&M baseball stadium?
I think I did.
It is the only ballpark in my mind that I think comes close to as nice as Founders Park is in the SEC. It is very, very nice. And the other positive about it, you have Bluebell ice cream.
I'm sure you do. From cows right there at Texas A&M. Just like Mississippi State cows give you Mississippi State ice cream. Bottom of the fourth. Question is, what Clemson cows? Do they make ice cream out of Clemson cows? I've never seen ice cream at Clemson made out of Clemson cows.
Missouri has ones also. They have their own cows as well.
Probably sour.
No, it's actually sour. Very, very good ice cream.
Louisville in the bottom of the fourth leading NC State 4-0. Vanderbilt did go on to beat Georgia 5-3. I guess Georgia must have won last night. I didn't check that score, but I think Georgia won. This is only Georgia's second SEC loss, so they must have won last night. 5-3. Vandy beat Georgia. Florida State leading Georgia Tech 4-1 in the fifth. High Point over Charleston Southern in the sixth, 5-1. Charleston over James Madison 2-1. Charleston is 22-9. and we are now up to date on the best ball. So back to Clemson football, because the Tigers had a practice today, and they're practicing twice next week, and then the spring game.
Monday, Wednesday, and then Saturday. That's kind of how that will close itself out for the Tigers.
And we heard from Brent Venables, Mr. Never Happy. Let's hear from co-offensive coordinator Jeff Scott, who's usually pretty happy. He tends to talk on the positive side of things, sort of like his boss does. And here is what he had to say about the workout today from the offensive side of things.
Yeah, we actually do have one more half scrimmage on Monday. So we'll have a half practice, half scrimmage. But, really there's been a lot of good things this spring. I mean, we've gotten a lot of really good work, just myself and Tony and a few of the other offensive guys. We've been here for, I think Tony and I have been here for about seven springs now. And we're just getting in a lot of really good work. Good on good versus the defense. I mean, it's a battle every day. And so that's good to see. I think the biggest thing going into the final week is we're going to get over that hump. We've had some really good days, and then we've had some disappointing days, and really just want to see the consistency for the final week of spring practice and finish the right way. And, it was a good physical practice today. We got after it pretty good, and the guys laid it on the line, and I was pleased with the effort today by our guys. I'm going to see us finish the right way next week.
How much does a spring game usually tell you about certain players?
Yeah, it's good. Obviously scrimmages are better than a practice as far as getting off the field, but now you add all the fans in and kind of a game atmosphere, really the closest thing to a game without playing in the fall. And, it's kind of that next level for all of our guys. We got a lot of guys that are being put in new positions, especially some of these young guys, the true freshmen that just got here, and some of the guys that were going to be sophomores next year. This would be a good opportunity to see them. I want to see a guy like Amari Rogers out there catching punts, in that situation. He's done a really good job. Him and DK have done a really good job in practice, done a good job in scrimmages. So now in a spring game, we're going to have obviously national TVs there, and I think we're going to have a great crowd. It'd be great to kind of see how those guys respond, and really one of the last dress rehearsals before we kick it off next fall.
There was maybe one concern or area of issue heading into the spring, might be offensive line. How do you feel like that unit has come along this spring?
Yeah, that really wasn't a concern for me. I think we're excited about our guys. I think our guys did a good job last year. We lost 2 guards. So I guess more than concern, it was just questions about who those guys were going to be, how are they going to mesh. But a guy like John Simpson's a guy that's really been coming on. He's played a lot of ball. I mean, last year we played 8 offensive linemen just about every game. I mean, that's almost unheard of. But I think that helps you whenever you lose a guy. Now, a guy like John coming in, he's played a lot of ball. And then, on the right side, we've had several guys that have kind of moved over there. Sean Pollard's a guy that's done a really good job in there. Obviously, he's played a lot of ball for us. But our offensive line's done a good job. Obviously, they're like every position. They got good plays and bad plays. But really, it's just the cohesiveness of having new guys in there. How do they communicate? I mean, we're seeing every front that's ever been drawn up in the history of college football this spring. So, I'm not exaggerating. Every single front that you can possibly do, we've seen this spring.
All right, Jeff Scott, and of course, it's the Coaches Clinic weekend. Doug Peterson, head coach of the Super Bowl champion Eagles, the keynote speaker, I guess you could say, at the clinic today. That's a pretty good get.
Dude's been rather busy this week, throwing out the first pitch with the Phillies, coming down here, maybe play a little golf.
3-0. Kentucky continues to lead to South Carolina as the Gamecocks are now – Kentucky's batting in the bottom of the third and threatening once again. They've had runners on every inning against Hill, who is been laboring out there from the outset.
Patrick Reed is on the 18th tee, 9 under par, 2 shots ahead.
Okay, we'll be back to talk about qualifying and other things from Texas. The full Monty coming up. All right, from the quiet and sereneness of Augusta National, where Patrick Reed is 9 under, playing the last, 2 shots clear of Mark Leishman, but Henrik Stenson has moved alone into third at 5 under par. Oh, he's going to break up the McIlroy-Spieth pairing.
It's okay. Stenson
for tomorrow.
Stenson McIlroy isn't bad, and it also makes for possible Spieth DJ pairing.
That'd be nice. That'd be nice. We go from that to the noise and the smell of NASCAR.
Rubber. We go from rubber to rubber.
We go from the penthouse to the outhouse in terms of sports. I'm only kidding, NASCAR fans. It's the full Monty on NASCAR. Monty Dutton of MontyDutton.com fame joining us. Before we talk about Texas and qualifying and everything else, I know you just recently completed another novel. And how's it going, getting it out to the public and getting it in people's hands?
Well, that's just starting. There's actually 2 things that have kind of come together. I'm really happy it was spring break for the high school sports up here this week because I've been very busy. But my racing novel that came out last year, the first of 2, called Lightning in a Bottle, is out in audio, so you can listen to it on the way to the beach, or people can do that. And there are a lot of race fans who travel to the track, and so it's interesting because the narrator. It's on Audibles and Amazon and iTunes. The narrator is another South Carolinian, the radio personality from Charleston. Jay Harper is the narrator of it.
Oh, our Jay Harper.
Our Jay Harper.
Yes, and so he did a wonderful job. He really did. He speaks through the viewpoint of the race driver's Uncle Charlie. He's kind of a rusty. He narrates the book. And then the other thing is I have my 8th novel. All this sort of came together accidentally. All this stuff, all this activity. But the new novel is called Don't Ask, Don't Tell. And although it has some football in it, and one of the characters is a sports writer, it's about crime and politics, and since everything makes everybody mad, I'm sure my book will make people mad. But it's either my best book or the biggest mess I've ever written.
Okay, well, it was Kurt Busch today winning the Busch Pole at Texas. I don't know if we've talked to you since they brought Busch back into the Pole Award. I think that's neat, a little turning back of the clock there in NASCAR to the Busch Pole days. I think that's a great fit for NASCAR. Now let's just get Winston back into this thing, and we'll all be happy.
Yeah, racing will be great again.
Yeah. But a big day. Well, now Lightning cut qualifying short, so Busch wins it. What'd you think of the early runs there, the practice runs, and anything else you've been hearing?
Well, they're back to an intermediate track, and it still looks like Ford is fastest. Truex in the Toyota is going to be strong, and Kyle Busch was a little bit disappointed today. But the three of the 4 Stewart-Haas cars were right up front, and the 4th one is also fast. So you have the winner of the last race, Clint Boyer, the most dominant driver of the season, Harvick, and Kurt Busch, who is is a former champion. And then a little bit back, Eric Almirola is in that team's 4th car. But I think that Truex, I'm not positive because you didn't know whether they were going to resume qualifying, and they switched to the 98 Daytona 500, and so I'm not sure how everything held up. But I think that Truex was the only Toyota in the top 10, and so the Fords dominated, but there were several Chevys in there, and so I think that it is a difference between qualifying and race day. There was a little bit during practice and qualifying. There were a little more drivers who got into the wall, spun out, things like that than normal. And I think that the track, particularly one end of the track, is sort of giving a lot of drivers a hard time. They're having trouble slipping out into the wall, coming off one end out of turn 2. So I think that in a way, you had a Cinderella story and a good race with Clint Boyer winning and having a long dry spell end, and then everybody took Easter off, And so it's kind of like, I think a lot of people, me included, in the last week or so, haven't really thought that much about racing. So it'd be nice if, particularly where the intermediate tracks are often panned by the fans these days, it seems like half the fans want more short tracks, and half the fans want more road courses, and they still like Daytona and Talladega. But it'd be nice to have a good race there this weekend. It'd be good for the sport, because now you lead in after this to 2 more short tracks, because Bristol and Richmond are coming up. And I think that you can probably rely on pretty good spectacles in those 2 tracks. So if NASCAR is going to build some momentum and try to show some signs of life in this great malaise that the sport has gotten itself into, I think it's important to have some exciting things come along. We've had our little period of time where everybody was worried about Harvick winning every race, and then so I think it'd be nice to really have a good stretch of races. It'd be good for the sport.
Do we have any common threads now that we have at least a representative sample size among this first part of the season? Common threads, common themes you're keeping an eye on?
Well, you've heard me do this, and I do it every year. You have to come down to earth from the Daytona 500, because the fact that Austin Dillon, who won that race, and Darrell Wallace, who finished second, there's so much excitement there, and it was absolutely predictable that they were going to back up, because first of all, they were sort of survivors of the 500s, and number 2, they're not. It's not the teams have to pick up the slack. They have to get better, and they aren't first-rate top order teams. So I think that was absolutely predictable. I think it was predictable that Harvick's streak was going to come to the end, because when you put a torrid assault on everybody, it makes everybody else start. And I think also the biggest name in the sport, Jimmy Johnson, is still struggling. He's making the best of what he's got. He's not finishing 32nd, but he's not running for the win. And so his development is something that is a big surprise.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You read my mind. Is it that easy to do? You read my mind. I was going to ask you about Jimmy Johnson, and I mean, it's been a while since he was certainly not this year. I can't remember exactly how far back last year, but just seems like
the year last year. He won 3 races last year. He just didn't do anything second half.
Yeah, it just seems like a long time since he was in victory lane, and I don't know. Let's see where he qualified today. Qualified 9th at 195.603. This is a track where he's won a lot. Are the pieces going to come together?
It's sort of 9th is about where he has been all year, although qualifying and races are a big difference. But I mean, it's like he's been driving a tail end of the top 10 car for about the last month, and then had early trouble with crashes. And so it's been a rough year, but there's always hope in this format, because all he has to do is win a race and get there and get everything together by the time the playoffs come along. So, there are a lot of people that are going to get into the playoffs just because they had one good week, or somebody else ran out of gas. And so getting in the playoffs, there's 16 teams in it. I mean, getting in the playoffs is something that Jimmy Johnson is probably going to do, but the idea is having a car that's strong enough to win the championship, which no one's ever won 8, of course. And every year that passes that he doesn't win that 8, the chances get less.
Sort of like Tiger trying to catch Jack. Well, of course, Jimmy's caught Dale. He's trying to pass him. So what about your pick for Sunday? What do you think?
Once again, I'm tempted to I think the winner of the race on Sunday is going to be I have to hurry. I'm going to pick Kurt Busch. I started to do that, and I said, no, he won the pole, but he hadn't won in a long, long time.
Yeah.
And he's a good driver, and he's on a good team, and so maybe it's his turn, because Stewart Haas seems to be the strongest.
Hey, my friend, thank you so much. Great as always. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you next week. The full Monty.
Thank you for putting up with me.
No, it's great. Be right back.
Now back to Sports Talk, South Carolina's most listened to sports talk show for more than 30 years.
Well, I'd have to say so far for South Carolina, their performance in this game against Kentucky is the equivalent of Sergio Garcia at the Masters. They are getting blowed up.
That's rough.
7-0 Kentucky, top of the fourth. Things have not gone well at all for USC. Kentucky loaded the bases in the third. They scored 4 times. Pompey nailed one off the wall. They have a billboard over the right field wall, one of those Go Wildcat billboards, and he hit it on a line drive off that billboard, sort of like a mini monster, and that cleared the bases. Bases were loaded. And
that's not the kind of stuff that's going to help the fan base, I would say.
Whose fan base?
South Carolina's fan base.
Well, no, losing 7-0 is not going to energize the fan base at all. Adam Hill, ERA is going to be inflated. 3 innings, 7 runs, 6 earned, 7 walks. All of a sudden, going back to the North Carolina game in the 8th inning on, if I have a time here, I'd like to count how many walks Gamecock pitching has given up in the last 2 innings, last 5 innings. I bet you they've given up 15 walks.
A lot. It's been a lot.
7 walks and 2 strikeouts. This is a guy that was striking out everybody earlier.
I hate to belabor the point because it makes it sound like I'm trying to.
But you will belabor.
But I will belabor it just because of the fact that, again, with where this fan base is, I understand that baseball is a big deal here, but I almost feel like there's a resignation among the fan base in that, oh, well, they expected there was going to be some sort of dramatic change with the change in head coach, and people kind of forgot it's the same group that Chad Holbrook had here. So it's not like you were going to get an automatic, change in tenor and change in talent base. I'm wondering what has to happen for them to kind of get re-energized and get themselves back in a situation where they're proud of this team?
From the 8th inning on against North Carolina, they only walked 3.
Right.
So they've walked 10 in the 3 innings, and then 5 innings they've walked 10. That's still not good.
The big walk situation from that North Carolina game was the 6th to the 8th. They walked 6 just in that stretch of 3 innings, and all 6 of those runs came home in that game against North Carolina.
Again, this is not the team that Mark Kingston expected to have on the field. The injuries have decimated this team, but you have to play with what you've got. So you have to, and it's the SEC, and it's unforgiving. They're not going to have any pity on you.
No.
And
not to mention,
it's not helping from a South Carolina fan mental standpoint that Chad Holbrook has gone down to Charleston, putting together a good season. If he comes in here in May when they meet over at the Fireflies Park and beat South Carolina, even though it'll be midweek pitching on both sides,
that'll be a pound of flesh.
South Carolina has not been good in the midweek with their midweek pitching.
They have not. And I think, again, a lot of it, Mark Kingston spoke to this in his press conference that previewed Kentucky, is that they're kind of having to get by with a lot of freshman pitching who is finding out that this grind through a collegiate baseball season is unlike any that they've gone through prior to this point in their careers. And, the other piece that I think you have to kind of latch on to is the fact, not like you said, with the Chad Holbrook success has obviously kind of put a little bit of a feather in the cap of Holbrook. But from South Carolina's perspective, you mentioned the fact that no one's feeling sorry for them. Think about, all those games that Florida football lost and the fact that they kind of took a bit of a downturn and people were kind of laughing at their expense. I'm not saying that people are laughing at South Carolina's expense, but think about the way that Furman looked after they were celebrating on their field. Think about the way that Charleston Southern looked when they were celebrating at Founders Park, when they got their victory, when they were up here. So it's certainly something where, this sport is so well cultivated when its principal visibility program is playing well. But at the same time, like you said, there's not going to be anybody throwing pity parties for South Carolina.
Not at all. They go to the bottom of the 4th now. Hill is coming back out. He's thrown 88 pitches. And like I said before, has given up 6 earned runs. The Gamecocks have 1 hit. That was by Hogan back in I think it was the 1st. So 7-4-0 for Kentucky. 0-1-1 for South Carolina.
Bravos have an 8-3 lead on the Colorado Rockies as they play in the 8th inning in Denver. Home opener for Colorado. Preston Tucker continues his hot hitting. He had a sacrifice fly to drive in a run in the opening inning. And Dansby Swanson drove in a run as well. A pair of runs, actually, part of a 4-run opening inning for the Bravos.
All right, so round 2 of the Masters is in the books. Patrick Reed at 9 under after a 66. Mark Leishman at 7 under after a 67. Henrik Stenson 5 under with a 70. McIlroy and Spieth at 4 under, 71 and 74 respectively. Dustin Johnson 3 under with a 68. Justin Thomas 3 under with a 67. Tony Finau 2 under with a 74. Ricky Fowler 2 under with a 72. He's a guy that we just don't talk a lot about, the best player in the world never to have won a major. He's right there, 2 under with a 72. Louis Oosthuizen, 2 under with a 71. Justin Rose, Bubba Watson, Charlie Hoffman, all at 2 under. Bubba's right there at 2 under. He was hot coming in. He shot 69 today, including a ball in the water late in his round. Still managed to shoot 69. So he's a guy that could get hot and moving on up.
I mean, it's very rare that your Friday going into the weekend leader, unless you're talking about, Tiger in the glory days, it's very rare that your Friday leader is the guy who's standing up at the end of things. You don't get a lot of those wire-to-wire finishes. Saturday in the 3rd round, that's when you kind of see the final score and the final groups kind of start to take place and take shape, because then obviously you have the very intense scrutiny of what happens on Sunday.
So looking forward to the weekend, and just checking here as we are about to wrap things up. I wanted to see
pairings.
Well, no, I was looking for do you have the pairings in front of you?
I do not.
Okay, I want you to see if you can find those. My leaderboard here dropped its cut line. I guess the cut did come in at +5.
Yes.
So the cut came in at +5. So that means looks like 53 golfers made the cut. to the weekend. Some of those who will not be around, former champions, Sandy Lyle, Charles Schwartzel, Jose Maria Olafable, all did not make it for the weekend.
Angel Cabrera, no Marco O'Mara, no Sergio Garcia, Mike Weir, also part of that. Doc Redman, with his missing of the cut, unfortunately, the Clemson amateur, and Wesley Bryan, who we talked about earlier.
I think I was giving the guys – how did it go from me giving the guys who didn't make the cut to him giving the guy? Brian, how did that happen?
There are multiple people in this program that we can also –
but I mean,
we all can contribute.
One person who is talking would like to finish a sentence before – person number 2 starts to talk.
We all can
Don't you think that's a little bit of a courtesy in this business? Anyway, as I was saying, Mark O'Mara, Sergio also did not make it. Did you get that far down the list? Have you found the pairings? See, I asked you to find the pairings. I was actually just killing time while you were finding the pairings.
I can't find the pairings as of right now.
You had to jump in and complete my thought.
According to what could possibly happen, there could be some consternation as to what exactly they're going to do about the third round as a result of the forecast. So that meeting that Don was talking to us about could possibly be going off as we speak.
I saw they just flashed the forecast. I saw rain chances as high as like 84% during the latter part of the morning. So it's going to be very iffy to get any golf in tomorrow at Augusta. All right. Anything else? Oh, by the way, I was checking the prices. If you're interested, you don't have a badge, you want to buy one through StubHub for Sunday. You can get one. There's one left at $2,200.
Too rich for my blood.
For a Saturday and Sunday competition badge, 11 are left at $3,700.
No.
And then I see one here for tomorrow for $1,000.
Oh.
So why would you not? Well, that's Sunday. There's one left for 49. I'm sorry, 49 left at $1,000 if you're interested. I'll take two. Send them to care of Brian Leonard. Let him pick up the tab. All right. You doing anything this weekend of note?
I'm going to go to the Fireflies tonight. Maybe celebrate over at River Rat possibly as well. A lot of.
Why are you telling people where you're going to be so they can locate you?
I like to hang with the people.
Okay. I'll be hiding away somewhere. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you back here. Sports Talk on Monday night.